are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 143 of the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, at YouBoyTank on Twitter/X, and I'm here joined today, Mr. Harrison Tarr. Tar, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm good. Happy early signing day eve to those who may celebrate, even though the period's technically already kind of underway. But happy early signing day, and I know that everyone's really excited to see the group not only that Auburn's expected to sign, but maybe a couple names that Auburn's not expected to sign that could join the orange and blue come Wednesday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon as this show's coming out. So really excited to be talking some Auburn recruiting here and their early signing period, and ready to jump into some Auburn football. It's gonna be a football heavy show today, folks, as it usually is, because that seems to be the only thing you guys care about. Analytics don't lie. Don't try to convince me otherwise. But let's hop right into it. Some big news, Dylan. 13's back.
Some huge news. The good 13 is back, as RIVALDO Fairweather has announced that he will be returning for the 2024 season. Auburn's leading receiver in both yards and in touchdowns is coming back for another year on the Plains. I don't really think I expected him to transfer out. If anything, he could have potentially gone to the draft.
I think that's what most people were concerned about is headed to the league.
Yeah, but on the year, 33 catches, 349 yards, 6 touchdowns, averaged 10 yards per catch. Also home to a couple of some of the best plays Auburn had offensively this season came from RIVALDO Fairweather. And I guess that actually starts out with this coming out party that he had versus Cal whenever he got that game-winning touchdown. This is probably one of the biggest pickups of the offseason so far, just retaining RIVALDO Fairweather, because you're going into a bowl game where you don't really know who your starting rotation is going to be a wide receiver, but you know who's going to be there at tight end.
Yeah, and it's huge, especially, I mean, Valdo mentioned it in an interview earlier today as the show's coming out, that he feels like there's unfinished business on the Plains. And yeah, I think there's a lot of validity to that, not just from him personally, but from us as fans and as viewers of the Auburn program. He was certainly, like you mentioned, a bright spot and someone that could really benefit from having a big year and could make some serious money in 2024. It'll be great for not just him to put down the film, but also for Peyton Thorne. Let's talk about that. I mean, we mentioned yesterday that Hugh Freeze, or excuse me, not yesterday. Or yeah, yesterday as we're recording this, but on the Sunday show that Hugh Freeze doubled down on his commitment to Peyton Thorne in 2024. So very interesting, and not interesting, but a huge upside for Thorne to have a familiar face and a reliable, if you will. I know that became kind of a bit with John Samuel Shanker, right? You know, having that familiarity right there that you can rely on, and a guy that you've thrown passes to. And not just a completely fresh slate is huge. And not to mention, RIVALDO Fairweather is a gamer. He's a football player. The guy is a pure talent that was overlooked coming out of high school, got the opportunity to play ball on a big stage at Auburn, and is only going to build off of what he did last year or this past as we're kind of rolling into the 2024 campaign. Should be fun to watch him in the bowl game, as you mentioned, Dylan, him being the familiar connection with Peyton Thorne, but also give them a full offseason to cook and then some time in the summer to go out and catch passes and run routes together, even when it's not mandatory training time. That's huge. I mean, that's invaluable. And alongside that, Dylan, some other interesting news from the Auburn front.
Yeah, as everyone already knows, Jalen Simpson, Nehemiah Pritchett, DJ James are all gone after this season. Right now, we know Jalen Simpson, we know Nehemiah Pritchett's not going to be playing in the bowl game. Still, jury's out on DJ James and Jay Simp. I do believe Jay Simp said Jay Simp already announced he's going to play. Never mind.
Jay Simp he's going to play.
We don't know
he's the pseudo Derek Hall of this team.
Exactly. We don't know if DJ is going to be playing yet. Still up in the air on him. But we did have a question answered on who is going to start alongside Kyan Lee this upcoming season on the outside, as Keontae Scott has told the world that he will no longer be playing nickel or star, whichever one you want to call it. He is going to be moving back out to the outside and bringing back, as he said, Key Island.
Ooh, I like that. Key Island. That goes crazy.
Yeah, I say Keontae Scott on the year, 32 tackles, 4 pass deflections. Didn't really get any turnovers on his front, but his presence was always seen on this defense. Defense clearly got worse whenever he was not on the field with that injury. But glad he's coming back, and glad that he's going to be on the outside alongside Kyan Lee. And I mean, this secondary is looking better and better by the day. the future set. Honestly, at this point, it's all about retaining Wesley McGriff and Zach Etheridge. Got to keep those guys around because I mean they are building something special in that backfield of that defense.
They certainly are, and you know what, that defense is going to get a whole lot better tomorrow as this show's coming out on Wednesday's National Signing Day period. So Dylan, let's not hold people out any longer. Let's talk about. We're going to go through every single person that Auburn expects to sign or has already signed in the early signing period. Dylan will mention afterwards a couple of guys that he wants to throw the names out there to keep an eye on that could be on flip watch or commitment watch for the Tigers. I'm going to go ahead and lead it off here, Dylan. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's not hold it up any longer. I promise you guys are going to get your T-shirt and subscribe clip here in just a minute. That's coming. We'll have a break to give ourselves a little mental break in the middle of this. But before we do that, let's go ahead and jump right into it with 4-star quarterback Walker White. Consensus 4-star. That is your first signee that you're going to see. Not necessarily chronologically, but the biggest in terms of most vocal commitment to the Tigers, and someone that's going to have his name thrown around in a lot of different ways in the next couple of years, especially playing the quarterback position. 6'4", 220, and already at a collegiate size. He's got a big arm, and we'll see how he fares in the RPO scheme. Obviously, a lot of question marks in the quarterback room and beyond in terms of how does that shake out? What does that timeline look like? What is the sequential lineup of these gentlemen on these presumptive 3 plus Hank Brown? No offense to the baby goat, but what that's going to look like. And certainly a lot of people excited to have Walker White on campus and taking reps come fall of 2024. So that's your first target. 4-star quarterback Walker White will be signing his NLI on Wednesday, tomorrow as the show's coming out. Dylan, you're up next.
Yeah, I mean, I just bring it up. I mean, you talk about in the coming years. I think if practices don't seem to go anybody's way in the spring, we might be hearing a lot of his name get thrown around a lot in the coming months.
Sure.
But I mean, go straight to going from getting your quarterback of the future to starting off with this wide receiver core, which is one of the best wide receiver cores Auburn has ever recruited. And by that, I mean, it is the best wide receiver core Auburn has ever recruited. And it can only get better if one guy would just flip his commitment in February, but we're not going to talk about him until then. As one of the Freeze 5 have actually signed their NLI in 4-star wide receiver Bryce Kane out of Mobile, Alabama from Baker High School. On the season, Bryce Kane had, as my thing starts to load, 948 yards on this is returning. 948 receiving yards on 43 catches. Also had 16 touchdowns as well. Dude's fast. Dude is a fast as it gets. 5'11", 170 pounds. Dude's legit. When you see your Cam Coleman's and your Perry Thompsons and your potentially Ryan Williams come along, the two guys that I'm going to be talking about are guys that need to be respected. Bryce Kane just had he rocketed up recruiting rankings earlier today, shot up 53 spots in the recruiting rankings. I mean, dude just had a balled out all season. And I mean, don't let the other two distract you from the fact that this wide receiver group coming in is going to be battling out for some starting spots right away. And that starts with Bryce Kane.
Yeah, don't overlook Bryce Kane by guys like Cam. Oh wait, I'm going to talk about Cam Coleman. My turn. Let's talk about 5-star wide receiver out of Central High School, Phoenix City, Alabama. Consensus 5-star Cam Coleman. This is where we're going to get into the flipmas category, folks. Where we're getting into that territory. Flipping his commitment from the Texas A&M Aggies on December 1st and committing to the Auburn Tigers as part of the wave of Mary Flipmas and Hugh Freeze and company. Guys, I don't have much that I need to say. This has already been said about Cam Coleman. This kid is going to be a true wide receiver 6'3", 180, can go up and high pointed ball, and he's quick. I mean, there's not much you really have to say. This has not already been said because it was such an earth shattering, or I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Plane shattering. There was an earthquake on the plains when he announced his commitment to join Auburn at the beginning of the month. This guy is going to be one of those weapons, like you mentioned, Dylan, part of this receiving core that is unprecedented in Auburn recruiting history. He's going to leave a legacy at Auburn. He's going to play 3 years at Auburn, and he's going to have meaningful catches in year one. Should be a pretty fun guy and a nice target. I'm sure Peyton Thor's excited to have him on the Plains.
Oh, and he's going to be even more excited whenever he sees the film of One, Malcolm Simmons out of Benjamin Russell High School from Alex City, Alabama. 4-star wide receiver, 6 foot tall, 175 pounds. Dude is an athlete in every sense of the word. This is a guy who shot up not 53 like Bryce Kane did, but he shot up 240 spots in the recruiting rankings. Dude is an absolute dog and gets overlooked by everybody. I think out of the Freeze 5, he is the least talked about, and I got to be honest with you, his stats are absolutely ridiculous, and he deserves way more love than he gets. 1,279 yards on the year, led Benjamin Russell to, I believe, the state championship, or at least I can try to remember exactly how far he made it into. 14 touchdowns on the year, and all-purpose touchdowns. He had 24. Mr. Do-It-All himself is Malcolm Simmons. Dude's gonna be a dog, and don't let the fact that he's the lowest ranked out of the 5 confuse you. He's gonna be right there in the mix for some quality catches in 2024, as well as the rest of those guys too.
Just like Perry Thompson. I'm going to roll into Perry Thompson here, Dylan. This guy was a W for a lot of people on the Plains for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, folks, you flipped a consensus 5-star from the University of Alabama at Tuscaloosa. He's taking his talents to the Plains. There's also this fun little bit about him and one Antonio Brown. That was a fun little side plot that did happen. Yeah, Antonio Brown's a loser.
I forgot that happened.
Yep, 6'3", 200 out of Foley High School in Foley, Alabama. I just said this a minute ago, I'm aware, but another guy, you're going to have to go 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D with this receiving core in terms of can be a true number 1 wide receiving target. I mean, he's got all the tools that you need to. Basically, 50-50 balls, they're going his way. Those are more 60-40s for him. He's got all the skill set that you're looking for in terms of route running and being able to high point. This guy's going to be a raw talent. I'm telling you, Dylan, we cannot sing high enough praises about this group of receivers that Auburn desperately needed coming into the class. And Perry Thompson, once again, I feel like I've drawn the hat out of the hat, a name that you don't have to speak upon because it's already been spoken. I'm very, very excited to see this guy on the Plains. Excited to see, like I said, I'm going to kind of sound like a broken record here, Dill. This guy's going to play 3, maybe 4 years at Auburn, and then he's heading to play on Sundays. And that's some really exciting talent to hear out of year 1 in Hugh Freeze. Let's keep it rolling, Dylan, because I don't think people are going to get any more disappointed at any point of the show.
And it is worth mentioning that the 2 guys that Tarr mentioned, Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson, will both be signing again on Wednesday. Perry Thompson at 9:00 a.m., Cam Coleman at 11:00 a.m. And, as positions that don't get enough love, is one that is called the tight end position that deserves way more love than it gets. Auburn, of course, bringing back RIVALDO Fairweather. Micah Raleigh-Ducker, I believe, is coming back. And, of course, you have Luke Deal also returning onto the team as well. Still up there. I don't know if Brandon Frazier is going to be back or not. Does he have any eligibility left?
I feel like he shouldn't.
He got here along the same times as Fromm and Deal.
Yeah, so vibes say no, but also plausible.
Eligibility is just a wild thing.
It doesn't exist anymore.
One of those big name targets Auburn originally got was Martavius Collins, the 3-star tight end out of Rome, Georgia. And in case you don't forget, he started off the whole flipmas thing, really, because he was a commitment. He had the commitment of Alabama, and then he decommits. Then I think a week to a month later, he committed to Auburn. And I will say, out of everybody on this list, I feel like I've heard the least from him. He has announced earlier today that he will be signing his NLI tomorrow, again on Wednesday. I'm just going to Wednesday until otherwise said. At 4:00 Central Standard Time, watching film from him, dude is a heck of a blocker while also being a awesome pass catcher. Getting a real balanced tight end, something that you haven't really seen since I would assume John Samuel Schenker. Valdo was more of a pass catcher, and of course you have Luke Deal as more of a blocker. So now you're going to get the best of both worlds, a guy who's very underrated, a guy who deserves a lot more love from the recruiting analysts out there. Come on, guys. Boost some ratings. Come on. Everybody else got one. Let's boost up Martavius Collins as well, because dude's a dog, and those rankings just are just so rude to give him such a low ranking. He has been on other visits, though. I don't know how likely he is to stick with Auburn. I know he's still committed, hasn't said anything about decommitting. It'd be nice if he did sign, but I would not be surprised if it went the other way.
Yeah, That's going to happen in every class too. So like that's not like out of this world crazy talk. Let's keep on rolling with some other dogs on the offensive side of the ball here. Like you just mentioned, talking about tight ends, and let's roll onto the line and let's talk about 4-star DeAndre Carter. Guys, here's a name of a high school that you should be really excited you're getting a commitment from out of Modern Day in Santa Ana, California. That's huge. I mean, getting guys like this, and IMG. We'll have to talk about IMG ties later, but Modern Day is one of those perennial programs that you want to see guys come out of. DeAndre Carter, really versatile offensive tackle. He can slide out. He's got lateral movement. If he needs to play a guard, I think he can. And he's quick. He's also, I mean, come on out, 340 pounds, right? Yeah, 340. His dimensions fit exactly what Jake Thornton's going for. And then you look at the fact that he's not only a pankicker, but has some lateral movement. This adds a lot of versatility on that offensive line. And nothing should make an Auburn fan happier than hearing this is a guy that you can expect to be able to play kind of soon and help that offensive line that, guys, Dylan says it all the time. He's been asking for one since 2017. This isn't like a new request, but this is a new development and that Auburn is going to try to home grow talent. So,
yeah. And DeAndre Carter also be signing his NLI at 12:30, which I believe that would be Pacific Standard Time. He is in Modern Day.
Correct.
So that would be 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for all of you in the Lord's time zone.
And 3:30 for you East Coast viewers.
Exactly, for the lesser time zone on the East Coast. But sticking with the offensive line, Hugh Freeze decided to go check out the school that one Keontae Scott came from, JUCO-wise, in Snow College, where he found 6'6", 295-pound offensive tackle Seth Wilfred, who has been an absolute dog since he started playing football not 2 years ago. Dude got into the sport late, turned into a dog, but just a little too late to start getting recruited. So he went to the JUCO route. Can't blame him. JUCO is a lot of fun, and you learn a lot from the sport that way. But 3-star, as it speaks, I think is every JUCO 3 stars?
I think the highest you can rate as a JUCO is a 3-star.
Yeah, which is wild knowing that Cam Newton came from the JUCO ranks.
Right.
For us, that is. But currently ranked as the number 4 player in his position. I believe in the JUCO has a different ranking system, right?
Yes,
it's like
completely different.
Yeah. Number 4 offensive tackle in JUCO, number 1 in the state of Utah. Seth Wilfred, definitely a guy who flew under the radar a little bit, and Keontae Scott was very happy to see some love shown to Snow College. And if Keontae Scott gets happy about it, I think the entire Auburn fan base should be ecstatic about the fact that Auburn's adding not 1, but 2 offensive linemen in this recruiting cycle.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it in a second, Dylan. Before we continue on, I want to go and remind everybody, if you guys want to continue to support the College Loop podcast, before I talk to you a little bit about TJ Lindsay out of IMG Academy, I'm foreshadowing. That's what we call that here in the business, Dylan, is foreshadowing. I want to remind everybody to make sure you hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell right here on the YouTube channel if you're watching the YouTube stream. If you're not, that's completely cool. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us on whatever streaming platform makes you happy. Just give us 5 stars and a thumbs up, whatever the highest rating is on your streaming platform of choice. Make sure to share the show with a friend so we can continue to grow the College Loop family. I don't want to say fan base because I don't expect to have fans, but a family is what we're looking. The family, if you will, is what we're looking to build here at the College Loop podcast, and we certainly are well on our way. If you guys want to continue to support the show, you can head to www.thewarreport.com and pick up your very own College Loop War Report Podcast Network co-branded Feelin' Loopy t-shirt that comes in 5 different colorways, only $25. Makes a great New Year's gift, as one AJ Rivera said on the live stream Sunday afternoon. So once you guys pick up your Feelin' Loopy shirt, make sure you use hashtag Feelin' Loopy on whatever social media platform makes you the happiest. Make sure you tag us in it. We'll throw it up on the next stream. Thank you guys for your continual love and support. You guys are the reason for the College Loop season. So thank you guys so much. Let's get back into it. We're talking about early signing day for the Auburn football program right here on the College Loop podcast. Thank you guys for bearing through the quick little ad read. I know it's nobody's favorite part of the show, but we certainly appreciate the love, and we got a hashtag grow the brand. So I previewed it a little bit and kind of gave you guys a little bit of tip off. I'm talking about TJ Lindsay, the defensive lineman out of Bradenton, Florida, out of another one of those keynote high schools, IMG Academy, a 24/7 3-star. TJ Lindsay is headed to the Plains. He will sign his NLI on early signing day, unless I'm just completely making that up. He's got great hands to fend off offensive linemen and has some of the best moves in terms of any defensive line recruit in the class of 2024. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you other than the fact that Auburn's going to get an absolute dog. Is going to be a little bit of a project piece, right? But at the same time, going to have an absolute opportunity to have impactful snaps in the very near future, whether that be in 2024 or beyond. So very, very excited to have TJ Lindsey added onto the trenches, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, where Auburn definitely needs some help coming into 2024.
Yeah, TJ Lindsey, a guy who shut down his recruitment, I believe, a few days ago. I like close enough to where I'm fully confident that he will be signing with the Auburn Tigers on Wednesday or tomorrow, whichever one you want to call it. But yeah, TJ Lindsey, huge pickup, and also a huge pickup is, of course, one of those other little Christmas gifts that Hugh Freeze has brought over by flipping one Jamonta Waller from the University of Florida, four-star edge rusher out of Picayune, Mississippi. I believe I'm saying
That works for me.
Maybe I'll go with it. Dude is an absolute baller, number 6 edge rusher in the class, and another one of those big time recruiters for this recruiting class that we've seen. Really trying to bring in some of those other guys I'll talk about in a little bit when we get to the guys we are hoping we can sign on Wednesday. But Jamonta Waller has been a huge pickup. Absolute dog as well on the season. He actually had 9 sacks, 19 TFLs, 56 total tackles, and also forced 2 fumbles in his senior season. The edge rusher position is one that Auburn really needs to build that depth at and really start building some star talent. Elijah McAllister, I love him. He's a great leader, but it's about time Auburn starts bringing in some of those star-studded edge rushers we had from a couple years ago with Derek Hall and Colby Wooden. So the games are won in the trenches, and Hugh Freeze and the staff are really trying to make sure that is known.
And Malik Blockton's going to try to help him do it, Dylan. And I'm talking about Malik Blockton out of Pike Road, Alabama. Mr. Larck, you got to see this guy in action, to my understanding, and it sounds like he's the dominating force everybody expects him to be at 6'4", 275, and I think he's going to get put on a little bit more weight before he takes a field for Auburn, but still absolute power unit in terms of being able to penetrate the offensive line and move opponents around. This guy's going to get to the quarterback. That's going to happen, and he's another one of those kind of high-rated 3 stars, could have wound up being a 4-star should a couple of chips fall in another way, one way or two, or a couple of recruiting analysts opened their eyes and saw what the talent was in front of them, which, that's neither here nor there, and that's no shot at anybody. It's a shot at everybody. But I say that, all that to say, Malik Blockton choosing Auburn over the likes of Texas and Alabama. There you go. There's your buzzword, folks. I know that you're happy to hear that one. Should be an interesting piece in terms of another one of those kind of project pieces, but also could be a pretty immediate impact, not necessarily in 2024, but I consider an early impact to be as a sophomore. So that's a very interesting piece that you add on that defensive side of the ball and that Ron Roberts defense. So we'll see how that all shakes out and where Malik Blockton stands.
Yeah, and I cannot get over the fact that I was informed that the scheme for Malik Blockton was not anything special. It was really just, where is he at on the defensive line? And meaning we're going to go the complete opposite way,
right,
of one Malik Blockton, because he is just that good. And I will say, after this, I'll go through all the guys that we talked about and who's going to be an early enrollee, because I do have that list in front of me as we speak. But to stick with the middle of the defensive line, Dimitri Nicholas out of Norland High School in what sounds very familiar, but it's Opelika, Florida, not Opelika, Alabama. Dimitri Nicholas getting picked up. 3-star defensive tackle. A guy who flies under the radar a little bit more, 6'3", 295. You don't really get a lot of film from him. No one really talks about Dimitri Nicholas like he's one of these big time pickups, because there's something different. There's not that big of a stretch between a 3 and a 4-star, unless it's a low, when you get on the low end of it. But Dimitri Nicholas, a huge pickup for Jeremy Garrett and the crew over there on the defense side of the ball, because dude's going to be one of those pieces that you're going to look for in a couple of years and be like, whoa, this guy was a 3-star, because he is just that good. Just flying under the radar from the recruiting rankings and all this stuff. But dude's a strong, fast defensive tackle. And watching some of the highlights from him, he just racks up sacks on quarterbacks.
That's going to be a common trend here, because I'm going to pivot over to D'Angelo Barber, Dylan, and talk about this linebacking core that's getting added to, because goodness did it need to. 3-star D'Angelo Barber out of Clay Chalkville, Pinson, Alabama, which I know that a lot of people think about Pinson Valley being up there in that neck of the woods. They are Actually, not the only school to ever exist with Pinson in the name or in the location. This is Clay Chalkville and D'Angelo Barber, who chose Auburn over the likes of Arkansas, Georgia Tech, and the University of Alabama at Tuscaloosa. This guy is going to be a little bit more, and we talked about this, I think, on the Sunday stream, right, Dylan, about D'Angelo Barber being a little bit of a project piece in the linebacker room. That's where you stand on this, correct? In terms
Yes.
of adding meaningful depth, but a guy that could see some snaps in 2024. It'll be kind of a little bit of a learning curve for Barber, but I think he's got extremely high upside. And like you said, he is going to wind up plugging into this group in a way that is desperately needed, especially in a group that's been so thin. So he's got a great build, great frame. He's only going to hit that weight room more, and he's only going to get in better shape. So it'll be interesting to see where he can land, and if he can get some meaningful snaps in 2024.
And it's worth mentioning that one of the biggest highlights that D'Angelo Barber has had is the fact that he was the guy who won Clay Chalkville their state championship, because he got the game-winning tackle, I believe, on the goal line, laying the boom and winning Clay Chalkville their state championship. Huge pickup for that linebacker core, and not the only good linebacker Auburn is getting in this class. As you know, linebacker is one of the weakest positions Auburn had going into this year. Kind of boosted up with the likes of Eugene Asante, who's coming back, and Austin Keys, who we believe is coming back as well. And DeMarcus Riddick, a guy who I think is going to be battling out for that starting job as soon as he gets on the plains, very, very soon. 6'2", 212-pound linebacker. Dude's quick, dude's athletic. 4-star, actually one of the first big-time flips, really, because he went from Georgia to Auburn. Really started this charge for those guys like Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson, all those other guys that we've now since grabbed. And you can't forget the fact that you're getting DeMarcus Riddick. You're also getting Willie Riddick, his grandma, who has been a huge Auburn supporter ever since he flipped his commitment. But, I mean, dude is just a dog. On the year, he had 48 tackles, or 92 total tackles, average 9.2 tackles a game, had 3 sacks, interception, and forced 1 fumble on the year for Chilton County. And, dude, again, he's just an athletic freak at that linebacker position. And I compared him to Owen Papo a couple of days ago. He's not there like athletically, because I don't think any linebacker will ever be athletically on the same plane as Owen Papo. But there's definitely the potential for him to be better.
Agree. And you want to talk about somebody else that brings in a ton of raw talent? Let's talk about Joseph Phillips, the 4-star linebacker edge. Kind of can shift in between either one of those. A true edge rusher, though, with a ton of speed coming off the edge. Like I mentioned before, I mean, this guy is one of those premier names that you talk about committing to Auburn over the likes of Georgia and Alabama in terms of, we won this one. And a lot of people kind of thought that he was headed to the Dogs for a minute there, and then winds up coming to Auburn and bolstering. And Dylan, you were sitting there asking for some of those premier edge rushers. I didn't know if that was an innuendo to Joseph Phillips, or if that was just I forgot Joseph Phillips existed. I'm going to choose it as an innuendo. That's what I'm going to pretend to believe, even though there's a lot of guys, and I'm going to be transparent with you. This whole recruiting class, I mean, I get names mixed up all the time because there's so many, which is such a good problem to have. But at the same time, Joseph Phillips is going to fit into this group really, really well. The number 7 edge rusher in the class, 106th athlete, and number 9 in the state of Alabama. This guy is going to get the job done, and he's going to get the job done early. He should make some pretty positive impact, get meaningful snaps in 2024, and certainly be in the mix for starting rotation in 2025.
Oh yeah, and going from one piece of that defense to another, I mean, this secondary group that Coach Crime Dog and Zach Etheridge have brought in are going to be legit. And that starts right off with Jalen Crawford, the 4-star defensive back from Parkview High School. Chose Auburn over LSU and Florida, 2 teams who were known for their success in throwing DBs into the NFL. Crawford, he's just everything you want out of an Auburn defensive back. He is an aggressive man-to-man. I will get in your face, cover a corner. And that's when you think of Auburn cornerbacks, the first ones you think of are those guys who are going to hit you in the mouth and stick with you all the way down the field. That's exactly what you get in Jalen Crawford. 4-star defensive back again, 19 corner in the country. Dude is just an absolute baller. I could see him being a DJ James level a corner just for what he adds in that he's going to stick with whoever he's on, no matter what. And got to say, he played a little wide receiver. Compared him to DJ James, I mean, little Carlton Davis thrown in there, get some interceptions, and that would just be awesome. But yeah, Jalen Crawford, huge pickup, but not the only great corner added to this recruiting class. I'm going to say recruiting class.
Of course, you're referring to one Amon Lane. Amon Lane coming out of Moody High School, Moody, Alabama, composite 4-star, consensus 4-star. And this kid, Dylan, Amon Lane, is one of the guys I don't think that people talked about necessarily enough in terms of he can play that nickel position. He can also play on the outside, and he's really, really good in bump and run. I mean, his film speaks for itself. He's 5'10", 180. Probably going to want to see him put on another 5 pounds in terms of just muscle mass, slim down, build up. Not that he has any fat on his body, but you know what I'm getting at. Want to put on a couple more pounds, but stay at that athletic frame. Amon Lane's going to be an impactful guy pretty quickly, especially in this nickel star defense, whatever you want to call that. The Ron Roberts company like to roll with. So we'll see where he plays in, but I think that there's a road for him to play early and have big impact.
For sure, especially with the loss of 2 corners into the draft and going to the back end, a position that Auburn is very thin at as we speak. They added in 3 safeties into the recruiting class as well, starting off with Kinsley Foston out of Naples. One of these signees that Auburn's already gotten along the lines of Bryce Kane, Malik Blockton, and Joseph Phillips. All 4 of those guys have already signed. But Kinsley Foston coming in, he's a 3-star safety, 4-star composite. 5'11", 170 pounds. Dude's got plenty of time to grow and get bigger, but he already plays bigger than he is. He is a hard-hitting safety who also has a little bit of ball hawk in him. He caught 10 interceptions as a sophomore and as a junior, I believe. A sophomore and junior year. Also, in that time span, forced 5 fumbles just by laying the boom on anybody who dared cross his path. If he just needs a little bit of weight added to him, give him some time. Dude's going to be a dog. Just needs some time to develop as a pass defender. But you can't really complain about getting a guy who is that good of a tackler at his size.
Yeah, and if you look at, if we're talking about framework on that note, Dylan, this safety class has got an interesting dynamic in framework. When you look at 3-star corner, safety, not corner, my apologies, Caleb Harris I'll just give it up for the fact that this young man is out of Thompson High School in Alabaster, Alabama. Thank you, Jesus. Thompson doesn't hate Auburn. Thank you, God. That's going to pay off for a certain quarterback down the road. I'm manifesting now. That's neither here nor there. But Caleb Harris, like I said, a consensus 3-star, standing at 6'2", 195, really, really high football IQ. Understanding a lot of in terms of when to go for a 50-50, when to just focus on a PBU, when you can actually jump a route and try to actually make a smart interception as opposed to just going up and trying to grab the ball, which there is such a thing, folks. Like there's certainly a definitive line there. You've seen plenty of DBs get blown coverage in that way. But Caleb Harris, I don't think an instant impact in this 2024 class, but also has a super high ceiling. And I do think for almost certain that there's a quick route for him to become an impactful player at Auburn. So another piece of this secondary that's going to be very, very exciting for Hugh Freeze and company coming down the stretch.
Yeah, and to round out these commitments, starting off, keeping it safety wise, Laquan Robinson out of the JUCO ranks from Holmes Community College, number 2 safety in JUCO. Dude is a baller. I don't know how he has flown under the ranks that much. Dude is going to be. I can probably put some money where my mouth is. Dude's going to be a starter as soon as he steps onto the plains. He is everything you want out of a strong safety and more. He is a cover safety who will hit you in the mouth at 6'2", 195 pounds. Kind of think of him in the same way you think of Zion Puckett, but if Zion Puckett could cover passes. A guy who's going to put his shoulder into your chest and is going to do it every single game, every snap, every single play. He is going to be there right where you want it. This is one of those pickups where I thought Zach Etheridge and Crime Dog blew it out of the water. When you see a guy who isn't getting that much love, and I know you could only give a JUCO guy like a 3-star recruiting ranking, this is a 4-star safety. He's and you're getting at least, I think, 3 years of eligibility out of him. And if he doesn't start right away, he's going to develop into a star of a safety. He is going to be a guy you're going to remember his name down the line as a guy of like, dang, how'd we get this guy? And it sounds like I'm booging. I'm not booging that much, believe me, because I've seen the tape. And I mean, I'm going to be the first one to admit, JUCO is probably where you want to recruit a lot of your players when you're looking for depth pieces, especially whenever you're rebuilding. You can build a secondary off of good JUCO players, and
Sure.
Auburn has done that. And we're about to have a secondary group made of 2 of those guys, in Keontae Scott and of course Laquan Robinson coming up. But yeah, that rounds out the 20 commits that Auburn is expecting to get in on Wednesday. 4 of those already signed, so 16 that is. But of course, there are a lot more guys that we're probably going to end up getting as well, because I mean, this class is just going to be absolutely ridiculous. I think Auburn is, 1 or 2 more like big time commits from jumping from, what are they now, 11 to like 5?
11 on 24/7, 10 on 3.
Yeah, we've always said on 3 is the best at ranking
Overall
Auburn
grading.
overall grading Auburn recruiting before early signing day.
Right.
But there's a good chance that a couple of these guys could boost Auburn up into the top 5 area. But I will say, before I get into that, just go through the guys who are going to be here on the Plains early on. Walker White, shocker there, I know. Cam Coleman, Bryce Kane, TJ Lindsey, Malik Blockton, Demetri Nicholas, DeMarcus Riddick, D'Angelo Barber, Jamonta Waller, Joseph Phillips, Laquan Robinson, Jalen Crawford, Kinsley Foston, and Caleb Harris have all been announced as early enrollees who are, I think, already practicing with the team.
Yep, they'll be able to practice through the bowl game.
So see if Cam Coleman and DeMarcus Riddick could just like, let them in. Let them play. Let the boys play. Let the kids play football.
That's not how that works.
And I will say Auburn currently has 3 out of the top 6 players in the state of Alabama. It's worth mentioning. Auburn winning the state of Alabama is a good thing. It's a great thing. It's the best thing. And I love Hugh Freeze for it. But some guys that we're expecting to see that Auburn is expecting to hopefully sign, starting off with the defensive line. Morris Williams, a current Florida commit, I do believe, but he has been very pro Auburn as of late. He is, he's tweeting out WDE. He's War Eagle. He's like Auburn, the eagle emojis, the tiger emojis. I mean, you would expect this guy to already be a Auburn commit, but he is not. I believe he is not decommitted from the Florida Gators. And I got to be honest, I saw this guy's recruiting pictures. This dude can take some recruiting pictures. He had some great photos in the all white uniforms. And believe me, if he commits, the graphics already made, y'all are gonna love that graphic too because it looks good. Huge pickup if Auburn can get him. He'll be committing at 12:30 p.m. again on Wednesday. Another guy Auburn could be potentially in the mix for is a wide receiver in Courtney Crutchfield, a 4-star wide receiver who I believe is looking at Auburn, Arkansas, and I believe Missouri is also in the mix for Courtney Crutchfield. And as it stands, I'm on 24/7. They have the cool warm things on the things. They also have warmer.
Yeah.
I did not know that. But Auburn, LSU, Missouri, and Arkansas are all in the mix for Courtney Crutchfield. And I mean, we got to think of another name if they were to get him. Would be the Freeze 6, something along those lines. For if Auburn were to pick him up. Some other guys that have not announced their signing time yet as we're recording this. But I got to kind of start off with some of the big names here. Starting off with, of course, KJ Bolden, 5-star safety out of Buford, Georgia. One former teammate of former Georgia commit, Dylan Raiola. Just had to get that out there just real quick. Georgia lost Dylan Raiola. But yeah, KJ Bolden, a guy who is on flip watch, but also kind of off of it. I think he sticks with FSU. But if he were to flip to Auburn, I would not be completely surprised. It's Florida State, then it's Auburn, and then it's Georgia, to my knowledge. And then of course LG McCray as well. He's still a Florida commit, I do believe.
Yes.
still a Florida commit, but Jamonta Waller has been in his ear every step of the way trying to get him to flip. And I can only imagine if Jamonta Waller himself, a former Florida commit, just stole 2 more defensive linemen from Florida, because Florida's recruiting class has been getting like killed by other schools. They are not. I don't think Florida's going to have this great recruiting class that they thought they were going to have early on in the year. But Elgin McCray also on flip watch. And some other guys that I'm kind of on the fence about, starting off with offensive lineman Cohen Eccles, 4-star offensive lineman out of Katy, Texas, former A&M commit, decommitted, and now is looking at 2 of the Tigers in the SEC, one LSU, and of course the Auburn Tigers. I've been hearing word that he's an LSU lean, so I don't know if Auburn really gets him. It'd be awesome if Auburn were to get 3 highly touted offensive linemen in this recruiting class, but I'm okay with 2 out of the 3. Other guy look for Jaden Lewis is a guy that I've not really heard much about ever since he decommitted from Auburn. A guy that I was very high on, even going so far to say he could be Auburn's Travis Hunter going into the future, because that dude just an athlete, plays both sides of the ball, wide receiver and of course corner, and does a great job at both of them. His recruitment's been kind of quiet ever since he decommitted from Auburn, but the interest I think is still there between McGriff and Etheridge. Hasn't really said anything much about where he's interested in. Auburn probably still in the mix, but if Auburn were to get him, it'd be awesome for both this recruiting class and just for my health in general. He was my favorite recruit we had coming in until he decommitted. But DeAndre Carter makes for a great replacement, number 1. And as also on this list, a couple of Bama commits. Got, of course, Jalen Mbakwe, who, again, has been very quiet. I think he's still on Bama completely. But wouldn't be completely surprised, because he did say some stuff early on in Freeze's tenure here that he wanted to come to Auburn. Auburn just didn't recruit him when Harrison was here. So if Hugh Freeze has been in his ear, that'd be awesome. I do think he's a Bama guy all the way through, so don't expect a flip out of one Jalen Mbakwe. Or there's also Sterling Dixon, who I know, I'm trying to remember who exactly was recruiting him out of our recruiting class. There was someone who said, I want Sterling Dixon. I think it might have been Amon Lane.
It may have been Amon.
I think it was Amon. I've not heard word on what his intentions are. As far as I know, he's still a Bama lock. But again, it would be awesome if he were to flip. I don't know the complete confidence level I would have in him flipping, but I don't think it'd be all that high. And a couple of guys that have been kind of quiet in both who they're committed to or where they're looking at. Bradley Shaw, linebacker out of Hoover, Alabama. Another hard-hitting linebacker that could have added a lot of depth to this room and a lot of talent to this room as well. Hasn't really announced where he's committed yet. Auburn's got some interest along some other schools. Just a quiet recruitment out of Bradley Shaw. And, of course, the last guy I have on my list, because you know I got to, the kicker position, and Towns McGaw out of Auburn High School. And in case you're not aware of him, he has kicked not just 1, but two 50-plus yard field goals at the high school level. One of them at 50. The other one, of course, was at 56 yards from an 18-year-old. And I will say, we forgot to mention some of the commits, Tarr.
Yeah, I was wondering when we were going to mention that.
Keaton McNutt, the number 4 long snapper in the class, as Cole's Kicking would say. And also, I'm trying to remember the other guy's name, because I should know this. There we go. J.R. Buckner, the number 25 long snapper in the class of 2024. Both those guys, Auburn is long snapper U. No one else has produced more long snappers in the league as Auburn has. Josh Harris, perennial Pro Bowler for the Falcons, sadly, but perennial Pro Bowler as a long snapper. But huge early signing day coming up in just a day as this comes out. And of course, it's worth mentioning that Courtney Crutchfield, I need to say, is signing at 10 o'clock a.m. today. So an hour and a half as the show started, he's going to be signing today. So keep your eyes and ears open. Have your favorite analysts and College Loop pages on post notifications on, so you can get the latest as soon as those guys put that pen to paper.
Yeah, should be a really, really big and really, really fun National Signing Day, early signing period, rather, for the Auburn Tigers. Looking forward to seeing any positive surprises that may occur that would result in more guys headed to the Plains to just bolster what has been a remarkable class in the first true full recruiting cycle under Hugh Freeze. Now, granted, he got a late start on a lot of these guys, so I mean that should mean the expectations should be higher even in 2025. So a lot of promise there. I'm going to pivot over real quick, Dylan, and then we're going to get out of here. But we do have some outside news other than football. I'm talking about Auburn women's basketball as they prepare to do battle with the 11-2 Washington State Cougars. We're going to break that one down for you really, really quickly right here on the College Loop Podcast. It's a pretty self-explanatory I guess formula for Auburn to take down Washington State as they ride their 6-game winning streak into a home matchup at Neville Arena. There are 3 players averaging double digits for Washington State. They don't put up incredibly flashy numbers. I'm not even going to try to pronounce Bella's last name because I know I'm going to mess this one up. I'm going to go with Bella M. And then Charlie C. Legger Walker, Eleonora Vila averaging in that order 14-6, 12-9, 11-2. They've got 6 players that will play 27 plus. So it's not an incredibly deep rotation. You have Jenna Vila, the sister of Eleanor Vila, by the way, coming off the bench with 19 and a half minutes. But beyond there, it's a staunch drop off. And this group will only really play 9 players, 9 or 10, only 7 of them getting meaningful minutes. So it's the rhythm is, or excuse me, the algorithm is simple. Get the ball into HSG's hands early and get your scoring drought out of the way. Go ahead and figure out how to get the ball to find the bottom of the rim and generate success from the field. And make sure you manufacture your free throws. This is not a pushover opponent like your last handful have been. Let's just be honest. Auburn women's hoops needs this win in a bad way if they want to get any kind of momentum rolling before they go in to the SEC slate, starting off with a punch in the mouth of the Lady Vols. I'm looking at Savannah Scott. I already mentioned HSG. I'm also looking at Sydney Shaw to have a big game from that 2-guard position. I'm curious to see if the formula is there. This group's played really, really coherently in some looks, and then they've turned around and struggled to score 70. Literally in the span of days. So finding that middle ground, finding that consistency, that's kind of where they're at right now in the program and in the rebuild. But I am expecting for them to at least go toe-to-toe with Washington State. Should help that you're on home turf. Should help that you've got home court advantage and that you're not in any kind of hostile environment. Play it all to your advantage. I mean, they're not even playing in the same time zone. They're playing 2 hours behind. Or ahead, 2 hours ahead of what they would normally be used to. Use every element you can to your benefit and to their detriment. And grab a P5 win at home. Get ready and buckle up and get ready for this SEC slate. Dylan, that's all we've got right here on the College Loop Podcast. If you guys are hanging out with us on the YouTube stream, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And that way, drop a comment on what's your favorite? I'm going to ask this, Dylan. What is your favorite recruit that should be signing with Auburn or maybe signing with Auburn? Drop that in the comments. That's what we want to hear from you guys and talk about who you're most excited to hear from. Obviously, we'll be recording on National Signing Day, so we'll have, I'm sure, a very different outlook in some shape or form come Thursday show. But we want to hear your thoughts after the Tuesday show. Like I said, if you hit subscribe, that is the number one way to help the program grow. If you're not listening on the YouTube stream, that is completely cool. Appreciate you. Make sure you hit follow. Make sure you give us a 5-star thumbs up rating, wherever the highest is on your streaming platform of choice, and share the show with a friend so we can continue to grow the College Loop family. I'm Harrison Tarr at by Harrison Tarr on the Bird app. If you want to come hang out with me, you can check me out there. You can also check me out on Instagram. And don't forget to pick up your very own College Loop War Report co-branded Feeling Loopy t-shirt. That's on thewarreport.com. Linked in the description. Every single one of our shows, $25, 5 different colorways. Use hashtag Feeling Loopy, feeling with no G, on whatever social media platform makes you the happiest, and tag us in it. We'll throw it up on the next stream. Thank you guys for your continual love and support. We're getting close to early signing day. It is around the corner. It is tomorrow as this show's coming up. So everybody buckle up. Try to pay a little bit of attention at work. I know we're in that holiday slowdown anyways, but try to stay locked in a little bit there, but also stay locked in with all of us at the College Loop for tomorrow and beyond. God bless all you guys. Dylan, let's get out of here.
Of course, I'm Dylan, able to tank on Twitter /X. And of course, you have an Instagram as well at Larck at DOALEN, And of course, you have him right here at the College Loop. You should like, comment, subscribe. As Tarr said, leave your favorite recruit. Why not? Leave your predictions for Auburn women's basketball against Washington State, because can't forget Auburn is an everything school. Show some love to all the other sports as well. And of course, you also have us on social media as well. I just said as well, a lot in a 30-second span. Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works, all of those at the College Loop. And of course, if you're tired of seeing our faces, completely understand it. But you can also listen to us as well on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and of course, Amazon Music. But of course, with all that being said, again, turn those post notifications on, because we're going to be very, very active on social media the next couple of days in light of early signing day. But with all of that being said, this has been the
Damari Olson tweeted Wednesday. I don't know what that means.
I think it means Wednesday, because early signing day is Wednesday.
The top comment says top 3, and he said yes. Anyways, continue, Dylan. I'm sorry. I had the Damari Olson tweet moment. Sorry.
Well, okay, with that being said, welcome back to the College Loop podcast. We're here to talk about Damari Olson's tweets, but that'll be next time. Because all that being said, this has been the College Loop podcast.
Love you guys.